moments for everyone to file in today. And then we can get started. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on AI. As you get settled, a few reminders before we get started. Please use the Q&A section for questions today. Questions or comments to the presenters and to one another to ensure that we have a session that is productive. Also, AIA California will submit 1.5 AIA learning units for those who complete the session live. And as always, the webinar content and additional resources will be available shortly after the session on our website. Today's webinar will explore the amazing potential of artificial intelligence, or AI, and how it can boost your architectural business. It qualifies for 1.5 AIA Learning Unit for those who watch live, which AIA California will report for you after you have finished the session in full. Now to introduce our presenters. Boris Rappaport has worked for over 18 years helping architectural design and engineering firms make their business more efficient and profitable with the use of technology. For the last 6 years, he has been running Arc IT, an IT services firm dedicated to helping architects realize technology as a competitive advantage for their firms. He is the other half of the Design Under Influence podcast crew as well. Alex Onsenko is a partner and VP of growth at Arc IT. He is a serial entrepreneur and C-level executive in Silicon Valley. Alex focused his career on helping small businesses grow and thrive. He is passionate about education, and he and Boris co-host a video series called Design Under Influence. The show focuses on helping architects use technology as a competitive advantage. Thank you both for being here. Please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Are you sharing something?
I am. Well, yeah, I'm almost there. There we go. There we go.
So just a quick, while Boris is getting this figured out, I'm Alex. He's Boris. We're excited to be here. And thanks a lot for the comments in the chat. Let's keep this live. We're going to take questions as we go. We're going to go through sections. There's a lot to cover, a lot of fun. We have a presentation for you that is scripted in very, very sort of minimal way as far as just the flow and the information when it gets to you. We'll do live examples. We'll do live demos. We're going to create live images. We're going to do all kinds of cool stuff. Just because this is going to be live and interactive, you get to ask questions, we get to kind of co-create together. But keep in mind, AIs may have hallucinations, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But not everything is going to be 100% perfect, nor is the world. So with that, Boris, why don't you launch us off?
All right, so let's go. Quick introductions, which Rebecca already made, so I'm going to skip this slide. I don't think we need to talk about us again. So let's jump on to this next slide and talk a little bit about what AI is. So I think a lot of people have the understanding of AI based on what has been happening in the last, I'd say, 6 to 9 months with ChatGPT being the big news and coming out and allowing people to actually interact with the real world live artificial intelligence, quote unquote, right? One of the models that is fully easily accessible and you can easily interact with it. You can ask it questions. It gives you answers. I mean, it's just cool. And I think that's where AI came to a lot of people's radar. But we should talk about the fact that AI has been around for quite a long time. I'm going to say at least 10 years, if not more. There's various forms of AI, and one of them that's been around for that long is the narrow AI. And basically that is an AI that helps us in certain ways, but really, really kind of narrow ways. One example is Amazon and their ability to use AI to suggest for you based on your purchase history, analyze your purchase history and suggest for you what is the next item you may be looking to buy. Another one is like the Netflix recommendations agent, which basically uses your past watch history to make predictions on what you're going to like. Those are all forms of AI. I mean, additionally, self-driving and self-driving cars, that is also using artificial intelligence to try to understand the world around the car. So from that standpoint, narrow AI has been around for a long time. Now, as we move more to a general AI, this is more of where the intelligence agent is able to do multiple things and provide you multiple additional answers, let's say, to your prompts, right? So that is where I think we're headed, right? And that is what maybe has people a little bit scared as well. So excited. This is, or excited, yes, depending on who you talk to and depending on what their view is. Generative AI, such as ChatGPT, which is basically a text generation and completion model, so is part of this kind of more advanced AI. And so those are kind of the two types of AI. Alex, do you have anything to add?
Well, so narrow AI will be able to allow, like, let's say Netflix recommendations, right? Well, let me give you an example. My daughter gets on my account and watches all, Barbie and other stuff that she watches, the 13-year-old. My Netflix recommendation engine is broken. Narrow AI just does not understand that there's a different person using my account. I think like where we going here, almost there, the general AI piece of it would be like it would easily discern, that this is a different type of person, different type of interest, and potentially bifurcate the recommendation. That's a very simple way to put it. Another way is general AI understands text, written text. And we're going to do a lot of examples today, but if you ask it to write you a apology letter to your mother-in-law, it will do it for you. I mean, that's just in narrow AI, and what we had over the last 10 years was never had that kind of capability. And let's keep this in mind. ChatGPT was just introduced, like, I think it went public in December, Boris, something like that, January, February, maybe.
Well, that was the GPT-3 model, which basically was leaps and bounds above the GPT-2 model. Right. But yeah, they've been working on the technology for about 5 years before that. But the GPT-3 model was something that was actually worth showing off and worth interacting with.
Yeah. So that's my piece on it. So let's just keep riding through it.
All right. So I guess the big question here is, well, we've all gathered here. Like, why is this important to us, either as business owners or as employees or as people who work in the build industry, the architecture space, and so on. So this is some of the things we're gonna try and cover here as well. And I think there are specific use cases that we will go over down the line, but the easy answer here is we need to start thinking of these of our artificial intelligence and the artificial intelligence tools as assistants, which will help us make our businesses more efficient, make our work more efficient. There's quite a few, even with the current tools that we have, which are basically in the infancy stages of generative AI. There's already quite a few things that we can that we can do that can help us be more efficient as business owners. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing is for like small businesses, things that AI has done for a while and it's going to be able to do is quite impressive. But I want to do one quick example. So like, for example, AI has done this for a little while now, but it was only accessible to, huge businesses that can run IBM Watson or something like that, right? But now a small little retail shop can have the capabilities of, IBM Watson, so to speak, the enterprise level software. I wanted to show you guys like the analytics. One of the businesses I own is a sporting goods shop. And I wanted to show you how we use AI just real quick, running analytics to understand what we need to order and when, as far as like product and compared to its demand and stuff like that. So let me see if I can share the screen. All right, just a moment. All right. So let me know when you, Boris, when you can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah. So this is an example. This is the analytics engine that sits on top of a point of sale system. And, it basically runs the back end of the business as far as like figuring out demand, stuff like that. So I'm just giving you a very, very quick and simple example. So the category would be outdoor department, and we can search by default vendor. We can search by product type, by subcategory, whatever we want. But in this case, we're searching by tackle tech, but let me just do something live. So let's say Big Rock is another supplier. So I'm gonna start typing this. It brings up my supplier. I'm gonna click run, and real data live right now. Here's what it tells us right now, right? Here's the item description, bullet weight, that's for fishing, item UPC, cost, and then it tells us quantity on hand, -10, that's not good, quantity on order, and then dynamic reorder point. So what that dynamic reorder point does, it actually estimates what the demand is gonna be, and I tell it like, hey, forecast is gonna be 30 days or 60 days out, however much inventory I want to have, and that's depending on different suppliers. Like you can play with it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. The point is that from here on, I just export this out, and I go and send it and upload it to Big Rock portal, and I'm done. Literally 6-7 months ago, we had to go around, or my manager had to go around with a scanner and scan every item to figure out, what the sell-through history is and all that. So for small businesses, this is groundbreaking stuff. And this is not generative AI. This is narrow AI. This is stuff that's been in existence, but now it's finally accessible in cost. So those are the kinds of things that you can already do. And I know we're going to convert it to the architecture business as well. So you guys can see some examples for your stuff, but that's kind of where it is. Boris, go ahead and take this screen back. And by the way, if you have questions, you can take the screen back.
Please post all your questions. And
ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, let's have a dialogue. Just pop it into chat, and then we'll do our best to answer.
All right. So, are you seeing the slide, Alex?
Yeah, I'm seeing the slide, but maybe you could like maybe give us a little bit of a like a 1, 2, 3 on the relevance of AI for small businesses, specifically the architecture businesses. Like, let's conceptualize this first.
Well, so I think some of the tool that you demonstrated basically is right. The AI piece of it wasn't just the database of the things that you have on hand, but the predictive analysis of we're going to run out of this, in 30 days or whatever. In 30 days, we need to order X number of quantity based on your previous sales. And I think that is what's important here, is to understand that before even narrow AI, that was not possible. You'd have to actually look at all your data yourself and kind of think of, hey, I need to reorder at some point here. So that's the cool piece of it. I think that can also be leveraged in architectural practice. So any type of predictive analytics we can use in an architectural practice where we can predict or try to predict, our projects and our resource utilization, right? And not just predicted for the next 2 weeks, but look at, what are we looking based on our pipeline and based on our, project phases and how many projects we have, what the resource use is going to be, for the next, even up to a year, right? So AI can actually look at all that. They can look at your historic projects by project type, review all of that, and then tell you, hey, you're going to have to either add staff or maybe stay the same, or maybe even subtract staff in the next year to make sure that you're staying profitable and you're running business. So that's one of the things in terms of kind of the business predictive analytics. Another thing is more around.
I'm so sorry. Can you put a pause on this one? Can I ask the audience? You guys want to get a little bit more active? I'd love to hear what your desired predictions. What would you want to be to know about your business in the future? I'm trying to word this out. Like, what would be important as an architect, whether you are working in an architecture firm or you're running an architecture firm? What would you like to know, like specific? Because for AIs to solve something, we need to actually have a problem identified. And this is a lot of times more difficult than people think. So I'd love to get some ideas. What predictive analytics would you need to know that will actually help you in your business? Boris already brought up some examples. Hey, staff requirements over the next year based on your project, history, all that stuff. But what else? Anything within project, anything with it? Like, what would be? Boris, continuing. I'll read out the answers and once we get a few prompts here. Boris, go ahead.
All right, good. I think we're getting some input there, so that's awesome.
Yes, we are.
So some of the other, again, business-related tools where AI is a part of now and is going to be more and more a part of is, advertising and marketing, right? So marketing your firm, and that could be anywhere from AI helping with content creation to also automating a lot of the workflows that you may have in terms of capturing prospects, capturing people that visit your website, and then based on that, providing recommendations, maybe not as detailed recommendations, but having an AI chatbot, for example, on the website where people who are looking to do projects, and we're probably talking about more residential side projects, right? People who are looking to do projects ask and have questions can ask the generative AI chatbot and get answers where you don't have to be involved, or you can be involved to some extent, but most of the work is done by AI. And I think like that optionality is already there right now. It may not be 100% accurate, so there's always that gotcha, but that functionality is already there and could be utilized by firms to be able to answer their potential customer questions.
All right. Do you mind if I go through the prompts now? I want to get your take on some of this. This is great, guys and girls. I appreciate it very much because this is really cool stuff that you actually need. So let's go through them. Kurt says, how many hours does a particular project type take from design to construction document? Let me ask you, Boris, is that something that exists today? Is there a solution or a sub-solution of another program that does this using AI?
Probably not to that extent, but I know there's current tools are trying to solve this problem and have been trying to solve this problem for quite a few years. I think the tools that are out there right now for project management and resource management will get to this type of a solution fairly quickly in the next year or so. So if you're using your BQE Core or Monograph or Deltek, Jira, Vantage Point, those type of things, whichever one of them gets there first is probably going to get a lot more business, because that is a very important question in terms of resource utilization.
Maybe you and I should build it, hey? Will says, what's the most effective way to integrate prompt engineers into your team? I like that question. That's a lot of futurescaping here. You know what he's talking about, right, Boris?
Why don't you tell me?
Well, so prompt engineers are the people who actually ask question askers, basically. I like the prompt engineers, very good way to say it, but it's question askers. It's people who are trained to ask AI questions and kind of continue to dial in that question until the answer is appropriate to the problem. I think that's a little futurescaping there. I don't know of any prompt engineers out there. Do you?
Well, no, I mean, there's currently classes and people can take certifications and get certified in prompt engineering and make a lot of good money. So that is definitely a new job that was created by this whole AI hysteria, right? So that is one of those things where, if you're afraid that AI is going to take your job, then start looking at retraining yourself as a prompt engineer, because that's going to be there for many years to come.
I don't. Yeah, I have a pickle on this one. But I want to pick that right now.
I mean, prompt engineering is actually a very big problem and I can speak to it from experience, because we are, in the next section, we'll cover of how we're using this internally at Arc IT. I can tell you, because I work with our developer and I do a lot of kind of playing around with these tools myself. It is definitely hard to get it to do exactly what you're trying to get it to do. You may be able to get the answer correctly, maybe 80% of the time, but there's 20% of the time where it's either completely wrong or the format is incorrect. You need to have specific detailed prompts that will show it exactly what it needs to do and how to output the information, because that's also the big piece. How do you get the information back and what do you do with that information?
Yeah. And so I think one way, back to Will's point, and we'll go through the rest, but back to Will's point, prompt engineers are, I think it's more like, hey, who on your team is interested enough and excited enough, including yourself, that can actually lead the way within the organization. And in our case, it's Boris and myself. I actually, and my marketing
coordinator.
Coordinator. She is, she's been writing great copy lately, and it's, what it is. It's ChatGPT doing a really good job, because she puts an idea together and ChatGPT kind of finishes the thoughts and puts a nice polish on it. And you can say, hey, be jokey a little bit, add a little humor. No, we need more serious. Oh no, only do it in 3 sentences and so on. So I'd say this is a job for someone within the company to kind of lead the way. I don't know if there's such a thing as having a full-time job for prompt engineer in the architecture space, but I think every one of us will need to have a little bit of that, because we're going to need to learn how to use and talk to our systems. Just like, let me just give you a parallel, just like the same way, let's say you hire a very, very talented person, right, Boris? We have a very talented person to, and then we don't give them any training, or we don't really give them enough time or give them enough dedication or resources. They're going to fail in your company, most likely, and go somewhere else where they can get the training. This is a very similar concept. If you're using AI as an aid to do more work, more quality work, and enjoy your work more, you got to spend time with it. So that's all I'm going to say. We got to keep moving. Kurt says he might use predictive analytics in regards to drawings. I'm not sure, Kurt, if you want to add more color to this. Boris, do you know what that is? It just basically help put drawings together.
We'll need to get a little more color in trying to understand what the actual problem there.
Curtis says cost estimating, for sure. I think this could already be almost done. Do you know if there's a feature within existing software or some software that does this?
Yeah, I believe there's, and I don't have the exact names right now, but I believe there are plugins for like say Revit, where you can basically, once you have your model, and let's say you have, we'll just take it. Let's say you have a room, and then you have, your walls, your windows, and everything already in that model, with all the finishes and the specifications. Then there's, I believe there are tools now where you can just let it go, review that Revit database for all the information that it needs, and create a budget for you, or create a cost estimation for it.
Awesome. Bethany says estimated permit timeline in each city based on project scope. Well, that's great. Love that. Rebecca, how to boost productivity, reduce burnout? Retire. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's the whole point of AI. I think that's what it's going to help us do, is just to take all the menial tasks that we don't want to do, so we can be creative and just do the work we enjoy, do the best work, while AI does your grunt work for you. That's the idea, and that's why we all have to get comfortable with it, or at least start to get comfortable with it. Irving says, agree with Kurt. Me too. Cost estimating, staffing predictions. That's what we talked about. Running various code calculations. That's really cool. Project timeline estimation and staff needs, as well as estimation for project time. That's Theodora. Thank you for that. Or as you're looking at this, anything you want to particularly pick on?
Well, I think we have one person who made a comment of, can you actually talk about how we can apply, how this is applicable to architects, and not just necessarily to the business of architecture, but also to architects themselves. And maybe we should jump and take a look at some of the things that I think we could use. And so I want to preface any of this by saying that, you should consider these tools as assistants in helping you. So generative AI should be considered as an assistance to kind of help you with the problem that, I think many creative people have, and I'm not that creative, but I really have that problem, is I have what I call is a blank page syndrome, right? So if I need to write something, I can sit there and stare at a blank page for like 10 minutes and nothing will come to mind. So to me, using the generative AI tools like ChatGPT, for example, is really, really helpful, where I can ask it to actually create something for me. And I know now we have to always say, look, this is not going to be an 100% accurate answer. That should be the premise that we go into this, right? Because I saw somebody talk about, I wanted to use ChatGPT to I guess, give me some city codes, and it made mistakes. Yes, it's going to make mistakes. It is at the infancy stages right now. So the mindset that you have to have is, I'm going to use it as a helper to help me get started. I'm still going to then review everything that it told me and try to validate it and put my additional edits into it, right? So for me, that's where I would start, is kind of using ChatGPT there. As we talked about, using it for marketing, using it for writing specific emails, using it for writing blog posts, but using it so that you can then review what it tells you and make edits to kind of make it stand out and make it more personal. So I think similarly for architects, you can use a generative tool like a DALL-E, for example, which is an image generating tool, where you can ask it to create some concepts for you, and it would give you a starting point, right? So, for example, here's some. So Nancy, who's our marketing coordinator, she's also an architect. Her education is an architect, so she's an architect. So basically, this is the stuff. And can you see it, Alex, on the screen?
You're on top of the PowerPoint, but yes. There we go.
Can you see the picture? Yeah. So, she went in and basically said, hey, ask DALL-E to create something, and, where you would start if you had some sort of project in mind. So she went in and she said, look, design an architectural volume inspired by the concept of forest landscape, considering natural elements such as branches, trees, glass, and different scale. So basically, this is some of the concepts that it came up with. Let me see. There's another one here. design a conceptual architectural space for car showroom using different scales, ramp, sales area, and car showroom considering vehicle and pedestrian access, right? So, I mean, it basically can give you like the conceptual design and get you started. Obviously, all of these need a lot more work to even be presentable to your clients potentially, right? But from a standpoint of, hey, this is a cool concept, I think that's where the AI can be used right now by architects, either this image generating AI, or we can talk about this. Bethany, to answer your question, this is DALL-E, and DALL-E is a tool from OpenAI. You can sign up. I think you may need to, they used to give it for free, but I think you may need to buy credits now. Let me see here.
It's like $8 a month now.
Or $8 a month.
But you can do, so while Boris is looking, you can actually, do you want to demo it live? I mean, are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the DALL-E demo right now. DALL-E demo right now, sorry.
I am always afraid of image generating AI to do live on the webinar with 500 people.
Well,
because who knows what it's going to come up with. Well, let's find out.
Can we ask the audience for a prompt?
Yeah. All right. You guys, go ahead and give us a prompt of something like maybe a description of a structure that you want to see, you want to visualize, but you can't really right now visualize, but give us like a decent description, like be the prompter that we talked about.
And again, you have to remember, we're not architects from that standpoint, right? So
I like this.
To us, this is just cool. I understand that any architect on this webinar can say, well, this is wrong and this doesn't look right. And the point here is it's something that can conjure up different concepts.
Right, let's try two different things. Let's try a simple one from Will and a little bit more interested by Buran. I hope I pronounced the name right, Buran. Mr. Mir. So let's try a house that sits on top of a redwood tree.
All right. I'm copying here.
Now brace yourself.
And this takes a little bit to generate. And again, you can be more specific. So it gives you some examples there on the screen. You can be more specific in terms of telling it to use watercolors and so on. But this is images that get generated when we ask. Now, this last one is probably not necessarily what we wanted. But I think this one's kind of cool.
Sketch, right?
Yeah, so we can be more specific in terms of, we could say a sketch.
Let's use Mr. Mir's one. It's that one is like a whole good, solid description of a lot of different things. I don't know if I'll understand any of it, most of it, but we'll see.
I think also, just because he shared it below, is he used ChatGPT to create this prompt. So.
Oh, very cool. Let's trip AI with AI.
Yes, let's trip AI with AI. Hold on, I need to.
All right, since creating intriguing building design inspired by the concept of harmony between nature and technology, imagine a structure that seamlessly blends organic elements with futuristic aesthetics. Gosh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, let's see if it does anything. Again, so we talked about these tools are just in their infancy. So there's always going to be like something is not quite there.
Ooh, the first one is nice.
So that's cool. What else we got? I don't know. I don't know if all of these match what we wanted necessarily.
Midjourney, yeah, right, correct. Midjourney is another tool. Yep.
Yeah.
But they're just so you can visualize what is, what the capabilities. We're in such an infancy. So when the .com era, basically this is bigger than a .com revolution that happened in the web and internet coming in. I think it's just as big or bigger, and we're gonna have so many. Remember Friendster, right? We have so many different ways that people think it will be used that won't be used, and things that we can't even imagine that's going to come out soon, and giant companies will be born. But for now, what's for sure is that this capability right here is going to continue to improve. But, boys, I don't know if it'll ever reach a point where architect won't be necessary. Like, for example, a consumer of any kind can go in, type in their request, find what they like, then tell it to get all the permits, tell it to put all the schematics together, tell it to go price it at a construction company. I don't just see this happening at all. What I see is architects can do a lot more projects, a lot more cost effectively. And the ones that are able to utilize these tools, which is, do it for half the price or less, right? Meaning half the cost to your firm for executing on exactly what your customer is asking for. I think that's kind of where we're heading as the ultimate destination. I don't think it's ever going to be, oh, we don't need an architect. We'll just go and use Dali. Not happening.
Right. No, absolutely. There's right. How does the customer actually know what they really want? And there always has to be a guide or a person that can. Right. I think of architects as people who really listen to what the customers really want and then convert it into a design, which is very, very important. So I don't think that piece of it is ever going away. Now, then an architect can turn around and relay that information either programmatically or by text or any other way to something that can generate that design if they don't feel like generating it themselves, right? Which will make it more efficient potentially. So in that sense, yes, that's what's going to happen. But there still needs to be a human element to really understanding how to convert your customers' desires into spaces, which I think is what architects do. So that should be awesome.
Tatiana and Remy asking the same question essentially. Are these images just basically cut and paste from the internet, or are these images been generated by this tool?
These images are either generated. These are not images being found on the internet. So they are generated by the tool based on the learning that the model has done from all the images available to it through the internet.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, somebody put a link in. I could click on it and see what it is.
I can't load any links. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but maybe.
But before I click on that link, let me try another link. So we have so there's another tool here that we could take a look at. Oh, so it's not necessarily a tool, but this is actually a quick video so the guys at Hypar did this demo of basically integrating. Are you able to see it on my screen, Alex?
I think so. Yeah, it's working for me.
Okay. So basically, they did this demo of integrating ChatGPT into their product, and their product is already a generative design tool, which is based on AI. But what they're doing is now allowing it, by integrating it with ChatGPT, they're allowing their tool to actually interpret human language versus just commands. So you guys can see, we're just kind of changing some of the descriptions and changing the inputs using real language versus just using the commands can actually produce exactly what you're kind of asking for. Sorry, that was too quick. So I think that's kind of cool, and I think that's where we're going as the next phase, is being able to use a lot or have a lot more generative design tools, and interact with those tools using language as opposed to using scripts and other stuff. And yes, I will share the link. I'm actually I guess I could put it in the chat here. So let's see.
Can we try one more before we proceed? Because I do want to talk a little bit about how to start using AI. So for some of you clearly have already been following this. I think a lot of you, if you're on this webinar, and kind of like interested in, and there'll be specific solutions within the architecture space, and the larger software providers will start bolting these things on and buying up other companies and all that good stuff. But like, what do you do right now? I want to go into that a little bit and help people like understand how to use this in writing marketing messages, in writing everyday responses. I know, writing your resume. I mean, if you're looking to get another job somewhere, let the ChatGPT do the resume editing for you. But before we go in there, can we try another example? I really like Alex's one. Alex Booth said, futuristic city with onion dome roofs, architecture, sunset, magical realism, ray tracing, Unreal Engine 5. Can you just put that in a DALL-E?
Well, let me find that one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's about 7 up or 8. Alexander Booth.
Alex, I can't. Can you retext it? Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you, Rebecca. All right. So let's try that. Oh, am I?
What?
I'm out of credits.
You're out of credits?
I'm out of credits.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. This demo will reveal on July 13th. Apologies for that.
Ouch. All right. Well, we'll see onion domes another time. But why don't you, Boris? Let's pop into some examples. I know there's some cool stuff like DALL-E, but again, that's a lot of play stuff, and we encourage you to go play. Absolutely.
Well, I also think the one that we have.
What do you use today?
I think the one that we should really kind of focus on here as well is ChatGPT, and what we're, I give some examples of how we use it in our business, but I also kind of try to run some of the additional things of, how I may think an architect would want to use this, or at least start to using this. So in our business, for example, one of the things that I always, and for those who don't know, we're an IT services provider, solving technology for architects, right? So one of the things that we do is when people have problems, they submit service requests to us, and those are submitted in the form of a ticket. One of the challenges that we've kind of had is, the ability to quickly understand what the ticket is asking, and then if it's not a simple task, right? Like, how do we proceed with solving this problem? And it requires a lot of research. So all of our guys are really good at researching and, spending time and figuring out the problem. But I wanted to see if there's a more efficient way to do that. So what we're doing right now, which has been fairly successful, obviously not 100% successful, as we talked about, like Chad, there's challenges with hallucinations and things. But if you say, is it 80% successful? I would say so. Is anytime a new ticket is created, it gets forwarded to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has a prompt of, hey, you're the best at solving IT-related issues. Can you create an internal resolution plan for this request? And basically, ChatGPT then throws a resolution plan, and could be anywhere from 5 to 7 to 10 steps back into the ticket. And if our engineers get stuck on a problem, they can always refer to that resolution plan and see if there's other things that they haven't tried yet. I think that, based on the feedback that we've been getting from our team, has been very useful, where they might have tried 10 of those steps, but the 11th step they couldn't even think about, and they've actually tried it and fixed the problem. So that's that's one of the things that we're kind of doing in our practice. In terms of how an architect could use it. So I thought about, what about specification writing? And there's a whole bunch of different tools, right? From master spec to other spec writing tools that are out there. But I was just wondering if I could ask ChatGPT to write one. And again, I'm not necessarily, right? I don't have an architectural background, or I don't have an architectural education. So this looks cool to me. Maybe you guys will find a bunch of faults with this. But I just basically asked to write and again, it's all about what you ask for and how you format your prompt. So prompt engineering. I asked for just a sample specification, right? I think if we're more detailed here, there's going to be a lot more details in the spec as well. But basically asked it to write a window specification using a CSI format. And to me, this looks pretty good. And it really didn't take much long to write. So does anybody have a spec that we should ask it to write? I would like to see that and see if we can make it generate something.
But I have a little bit. Actually, I wanted to do a little group think here together with all of you. So Boris just presented to you a first line of defense solution for an IT company. Okay, so pop in your ticket into ChatGPT and let it, with the proper prompting, let it help you solve the problem. Okay. Another example for, like, let's say, bait and tackle or fishing trap, right? Somebody comes in and says, hey, what was the latest going on in Lake Berryessa? Well, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, what's been caught in Berryessa? What's been biting in Berryessa for the last 2 weeks? And it will give you a response. I call this the first line of defense. I'm wondering what in your business would that be? Like, what would you have this assistant do for you in your business? And it could be spec up or mentioned, very well be that, but other things that will really help you out that you find yourself spending a lot of time on as a first line of defense, that ChatGPT can help you solve. I hope I'm formulating myself in a way that you can understand, but I'm just reading some responses.
Okay.
Initial code review. Initial code review. I like that.
That's good too. Crime data. Interesting.
Crime to climate data.
Or sorry. Where's my mind going? I don't know.
I don't know what your eyes.
I don't know. Where is my mind going? I guess something in my
climate
mind.
data.
Climate data. Oh yeah, climate data definitely. I think there's tools for that already.
Hey, can we try some of this? Let's try some of this. I'm actually, we can walk away with something for you, ladies and gentlemen, to use as a first line of defense, or at least poke at and start practicing. That would be a huge win for us. So crafting email to frustrating clients, you can already do that to help ease the tension. So that's like, this is a really, ChatGPT is really good at that. Like that would be, you just kind of put in the way you do this is, Boris, read through responses, but I'm going to explain how I do this. So I write, let's say I write a newsletter or write a response to email. I just write quickly. I don't even worry about my spelling anymore. And I will just copy and paste that in ChatGPT. And I use Bard, in my case, Bard, that's Google's version of it. And I say specifically, hey, I'm responding to an inquiry on an invoice that we messed up on, that we were 60 days late on. Can you check this text and adjust it to where we are apologetic, but we want to continue the relationship, something like that. And then boom, it does this. And it reworks your text, and then it has 3 different versions, and you got to pick it. So it's pretty cool. But the important thing is we got to learn. This took me a little while. We got to learn to write kind of quickly and specifically. So not worry about your spelling, not worry about your grammar, because you are just passing it to your assistant. What you need to worry about is being specific enough on your prompt, which is kind of cool. But you can re-specify multiple times. For example, we put a video transcript into ChatGPT and say, hey, write us a blog article about this video, it starts creating all kinds of like stuff that making stuff up, and say, hey, don't make up stuff, just write what's in the video, and it kind of just fixes itself. Anyway, Boris, go ahead. There's a lot of cool suggestions out there.
Well, the writing, I guess let's do that, right? Crafting email to frustrate clients to help ease tension based on what? I guess about a problem with the project.
Well, yeah, because deadline was not hit or whatever.
Or missed. Okay, well, let's be more specific, because we have to be more specific about a missed deadline.
Can you be more specific? Missed deadline. Okay, it's fine. You already launched it. All right, let me take a look. Can you make it bigger? I can't see, and
I will. The problem was I have with the two screens. I'm kind of limited to the real estate that I have. Let me see if we can make this bigger here. Is it better? Bigger.
No, more.
All right.
There we go. Yeah, it's better. Scroll up. What is it? Is it writing a book?
This is what it takes to get your client less frustrated. I'm all for it.
Now change it in 5 sentences, because nobody's going to read that stuff.
Change it what?
Change it to 5 sentences. Like limit this, because scroll up, because this is a lot of text, and who's going to read that kind of email? To 5 sentences. There you go. Take emotions out. Oh, it's got long sentences, but all right.
Yeah, well, yeah, long 5 sentences. But yeah, so that was one.
Nice. Okay. What about potential client litigation history? That's great. Fun. Good job.
I'm sure there are databases. I'm sure there will be databases which will then be easily searched by using this. And so basically, we kind of have to understand, like, if we're looking at ChatGPT specifically, it is just a language generation and completion model, right? So basically, you give it some prompt, it either creates something or you ask it a question and it tries to answer it based on its training data. It does not, right? Like some people say it has intelligence and so on. It not really. It tries to find the best completion result to your query, right? Like it does not actually think. It is looking to complete your query in the best possible way. So I think we have to kind of take that as well.
Well, there's another one that says initial code review. I want to pick on that one a little bit. It's from John. That was the first one. What do you think? ChatGPT is able to do that?
I don't think so. No, not at this point. I'm sure. So I think there are tools though that could definitely help with that. Wasn't there a at the AA conference right next to us, code.ai or somebody to that effect? I think that they may be kind of going in that direction.
AI, something like that, yeah.
Okay, Opcode. There's that too.
Let's stick to, I want to find a first line of defense, something that could help architects today, and that exists and it's free. So it's called ChatGPT.
Free.
Well, isn't ChatGPT free?
Well, it depends. It depends.
Bard is, so we can use Bard. I can share some of the stuff I use with Bard, but Bard.google.com is just like a Google, like Google Docs. You open it like your Drive, you open your email, you open your chat, you open your AI. It's very convenient, really. So initial code review not going to work right now. Code research across local and national, I think that's the same. Climate data, that could be actually very interesting.
Yeah, and there are tools that do that as well, or at least there are tools that are in progress right now that basically help you quickly search for climate data at a specific time. You get the averages across either last 10 years or whatever. You're able to find that information.
But would a ChatGPT be a reliable source for that? I'd say so.
I would say anything that ChatGPT, as I mentioned 5 minutes ago, it's more of a creation versus a true data, right? Like it is good at creating things. It is good at completing certain prompts. It's not always good at providing you accurate, valid information. And we have to take it for that. So actually, I'd say in many cases where you ask it to write something that's like a technical document or a kind of a well-written research paper, it's going to make mistakes. So no, at this point, I don't think that is a good tool to use. There are AI tools that will be able to do those functions much, much better, or there will be shortly AI tools that will be able to do those functions much, much better. Just like, remember there was an article where this lawyer got disbarred or something to that effect because he basically did the whole thing in ChatGPT and it was not accurate at all, right? So those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Like any type of technical writing or well-researched writing, it's not good for that. It's good for creating things.
Let me throw a little wrinkle at you and the rest of us on this podcast, on this webinar. James said a really good point, and I like to address this. This is interesting. So he says, how do you justify today's fees to clients where they finally catch on to architects using ChatGPT or AI? If I'm a client, I'm not paying for someone to type a prompt. What say you?
What say me?
Well, if you're an IT company,
why
would our clients pay us when you're running old tickets through ChatGPT?
Well, I'm running them through ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is not doing the work, and it's far, far, far from doing the work. That's A. And then B, I think, let's go back to my point about curation. I think as AI goes further and further, there still needs to be the human piece of curation of all of that, right? What I said, and I will respond to James in that way, is like, to me, an architect is somebody who takes like clients' emotions and clients' desires and converts them into space, right? Like that's what the job is. It's not a job of delivering drawings. It's not a job of delivering a building. That is the job. That at high level, that's what the job is, and that's what people pay for. It doesn't matter what tools are used to achieve that objective. That objective is what is being sold, not right like the tool that you use or a Revit model or something else.
That's a very good point. I like that. And James also says something to the tune of, and I also don't disagree with him on this one, but I have my take. He says we'll lose direct connection with the client by potentially using AI as a way to adjust our responses and what do you say to that? Like correspondence specifically, we don't. Basically, it feels like we are putting a wall between correspondence. Like we're not connected with. That's what he says. We're not as connected, and I can see truth to it. We're not as connected to the customer or person on the other end we're talking to by shielding, by using AI to regenerate all our content.
I mean, some of that gets lost. Absolutely. I think there was like a caricature or even a video. I don't remember where I saw this, but it was basically two AIs emailing each other, right? Like two people actually talking to each other, but it was two AIs emailing each other. So that, kind of on one hand, it's funny. On the other hand, he's absolutely right. We're using that human touch. So what I always do, even in the sense of like, the prompt that we just gave it about apologizing for missed deadline, you can use it. You use it as a shell of your response, and you need to add your own emotions to it so that you can maintain that connection with the customer.
I don't know about that. You want to take emotions out of that?
Well, I mean, it depends on who has what kind of emotions. Like for me, I'd still rate like positive emotions. I would still add in just so that you can maintain that human touch.
Well, this is actually a great conversation, but this is more, it's a lot more now on emotional and personal and human to human connection rather than technical side of things. So we could float back and forth. I don't mind. I'm struggling with this every day, but I'm still using AI and I'm finding it extremely helpful. We'll talk about hallucinations, but before we go there, let's see if there's another interesting. I do want to have something. If we can come up with something that all architects can kind of at least use as a first line of defense to start getting used to this AI experience, I think that'll be helpful. Okay.
So hold on, Alex. Now we've been paying attention to the chat. I don't know if have you paid attention to the Q&A?
No. Is there a difference? Is it different?
There's different questions there, so maybe we should read some of those out.
Ouch! So sorry.
And maybe a lot of them we have already covered, but
let me see. How do you look at Q&A?
There's a Q&A tab button.
Press the button. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. Why don't you review Q&A? Let me give you an example of hallucinations and talk about that. Okay. Because again, I use this every day, more than once a day. And I want to give you an example, like exactly what this looks like when the ChatGPT or Bard or any AI of current vintage trips out. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So this is an example related to. So one of the things that I have been interested in and been doing is taking a captain's course, right? I want to get a captain's license for various reasons. One of them is just I want to get one. And this was an interesting question that I wanted to know if AI could actually, or Bard can actually decipher this and understand this. And this is the one that got wrong, okay? So the splice designed to pass easily through a block is called, and then there's 4 options, right? Splice meaning a splice of the rope. So you got to splice the rope in a certain way that it passes through the cleat or through the block. That when you splice 2 ropes together, it doesn't increase the diameter of the rope. And so there's these splices called I-splice, long splice, short splice, or block splice. Those are 4 options. Now, the AI here, Bard, claims the block splice is the correct answer. And it says it's a type of I-splice that is specifically designed to pass easily through a block, which is a bunch of baloney, okay? There's no such a thing even as a block splice, okay? Let me tell you why. It kind of like inferred things. So if you look at rope splicing on Wikipedia, you won't find a block splice. And maybe some of you more knowledgeable or someone who's a seaman who already understands this can pipe in here, but there's a back splice, cut splice, I-splice, ring splice, chain splice, blah, 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 short splice, all kinds of different details about them, but there's no such thing as block splice. That's completely something different, okay? So what is block splice? There's a splice block designed with for superior electrical performance. There's nothing to do with what we're asking here, okay? The correct answer is the long splice, right? So the long splice is used to join 2 ropes and together forming 1 rope, the length of the total of the 2 ropes. So the long splice, unlike most the splice types results in splice that is only very slightly thicker than the rope without the splice. So it could be that the question I asked is not complete enough for Bart to kind of figure out which answer is correct, but it also just gave me a wrong answer. Okay, it didn't say, "Oh, I need more information." Are you talking about, maritime, or are you talking about rope splicing for whatever other things? So anyway, just be very mindful that this thing is not going to give you what you want, and don't take it at face value. Ask more questions. Look at different versions or variants of that answer, of that response, before accepting it. So right now, that's kind of where it's at, as far as making mistakes and giving you completely wrong information. Don't rely on it, or take it away.
One other kind of thing that you notice, or I've noticed, as I play around with this, not only does it give you the wrong information, it makes it sound that it is absolutely the correct information.
Oh, heck, yeah, exactly. Like,
you will not ever find better information anywhere else. Like, it is really convincing. So that's why it's called a hallucination, because it's hallucinating that it is an actual fact when it's completely opposite.
Well, look, case in point. Thank you. Look at it. It's even telling me it is made by forming an eye in the end of the rope, then passing the rope through the eye and back around itself. What does that even mean? Okay, and there's no such thing as block splice to begin with, and it's called an eye splice, and it's not an eye splice because there's no block splice anyway. So it's just convincing you that this creates a loop that is large enough to pass through the block, but still secure enough to hold the rope in place. In place where? Yeah. So exactly. You want to go and tackle some questions? I've set my piece on this.
So I've reviewed the Q&A. I think I've kind of I think we've covered a lot of this, and some are very, very specific that I'm not sure if we should go into that. And also others are just like, it would be nice to have. So I think the nice to have we should kind of take out, and maybe have a futurescaping piece to the next webinar of, hey, these things are nice to have. Maybe somebody can start creating products for these. Let's see. So yeah,
if I may ask a question, I saw a few people ask about copyright, and that's something I personally am interested in too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there was recently a professor who graded his papers via ChatGPT and said something about copyright, and then there was a big scandal. Can you just elaborate a little bit on copyright and the use of AI and how that kind of melds together or overlaps or anything like that?
Well, so there's actually a couple of lawsuits that have been initiated where OpenAI is being sued for using the data that's available on the internet, whether it's images or text or books, to train their data. It'll be interesting to see what the results of those lawsuits are, because there's currently really no standard that is out there to say whether, if an AI was trained on something or on copyrighted material like images or even books, and then it regurgitates that material into something else, is the AI the creator, or is whoever was the original copyright owner, are they still considered to be the owner of any output that AI produces? So that is actually an interesting debate that is probably going to go on for quite a few years, to try to put some regulations around that, specifically in terms of copyrights, and then a whole bunch of other regulations just in general of how to use the AIs, right, in an ethical manner. Let's put it that way, because just as it can be put to use, to improve productivity and do a lot of cool stuff, it can also be used for bad as well. So there's, for that, we kind of have to just stay tuned and see what's going to happen in the near future here.
But in the meantime, I think it's important for you to find the first line of defense, as I say simply, for your business and start using this tool, not trusting it completely, but it is fascinatingly good in so many different ways. And yes, be mindful, it does remove personal connection potentially if you run everything through it. I mean, I wouldn't have an argument with my wife through ChatGPT, but I can tell it to write a blog post from a video of Boris is my podcast, because we discuss things deeply. And I don't want to sit there and spend 6 hours writing the thing. It's serious work where AI can go listen to everything we say and put it together very, very well. We are the authors of it. We didn't steal it from nowhere. We initiated, we birthed the context and the content, and it's going to go and put it all together. So those are the use cases. But I think, there's some comments here that say, architects may not be needed in the future. And that we can come back to this and just say, a lot of people thought very similarly when, things came out, when the internet came out originally. I don't remember in the 1999, 2000s, I was here, I was present, I was in college, and I shifted my degree. I went from, economics to actually e-commerce systems. And that was a brand new degree that was offered for the first year in college in San Francisco State. And I took it. It was the first year. This was a blend between programming and business. And I'm very glad I did. So you just got to see this and calmly start seeing where it's going to be advantageous. I think what's going to happen, and I think Rebecca said this, maybe you don't want me to quote you on this one, but you said that AI is not going to replace architects. You said it so well. Architects who use AI will replace architects. I think that was the sort of take on this, and I think we're far away from that too as well. But you look at any business. You look at let's say just retail stores. A lot of stores are still successfully run with no systems at all, pen and paper. But as new generation takes over the businesses of their parents, they're not interested. They're not interested in taking over pen and paper business. It's the knowledge that you must have in your head is not replicable. You have 30 years experience running the shop. You can't replicate this into your to next generation. So this is where technology comes in, and it's always going to be controversial. It always will be, I think. And this especially, this is trying to be more human than it has the right to.
Well said.
You want to tackle a question or a comment?
No, I think we have I think we have a live discussion going on here, which I don't want to actually interrupt. But
well, so it's but why don't we do like a little background music, so to speak, for this discussion? And this is great. This is exactly what I wanted to. It's always going to be the best when everyone is participating and having their voice heard. But do you want to jump and actually cover the tools, some of the recommended tools we have? Because I found your list pretty fascinating. I found myself looking at a bunch of them on the internet, and I didn't know they existed. Why don't you poke at some of those and give people, some idea of what already exists?
So there's a few tools out there that already quote unquote utilize AI, or even your clients can go and try to use those tools to create, like for example, there's a tool, Make It, basically Make It AI, where you can create an account, you can go in and you can specify a quote unquote design of a house, and it will give you various floor plan layouts. it will then try to actually visualize those floor plans and kind of, if you say, look, I have 2 bedrooms, 1 kitchen, and 2 bathrooms, and it's a 2-story building and a garage, you'll create the floor plans for it. Then you can click on those rooms and you can actually, try to get it to visualize the floor plans, put the furniture in, and so on. So that's one of the tools that's out there that I think you guys can go in and explore. I think the free version gives you a limited amount of requests. I believe it's 3, but you can sign up for a paid version if you want to play more with it. Midjourney, I think, has been discussed here already. And then, so Midjourney is kind of the same thing with it with DALL-E. It's an image generation tool, and you can ask it similar things to create conceptual designs. It's interesting that if you give the same prompt to Midjourney versus DALL-E, the concepts come out completely different. I think the Midjourney is more with darker, it has a darker soul, if you want to put it that way. Like it has more medieval type stuff, which is very interesting. So it all depends on what data the AI has been trained for. Adobe Firefly is also one of the newer AIs and an Adobe product, which allows you to kind of quickly edit images and create images. You can actually, like, if you're doing a Photoshop edit, you can use the Firefly AI to just say, let's say there's a picture of a person and a dog. You could say, hey, remove the dog, for example, and it will completely remove it without any trace. It all, again, depends on prompting, depends on stuff, but yeah, it basically does the image editing for you. So those are the image editing stuff. TestFit, I'm sure many of you are familiar with TestFit, but that also uses AI to basically figure out how to best, fit a building onto a site, right? And additional like parking spaces and other things that you need to consider, so you can quickly move things around. Somebody just mentioned Otter. So Otter is a really cool tool which I've used for basically converting text to notes. So where you can, if you're in the meeting, you can ask a client to record the conversation and use Otter to record it, and then you'll have a full transcript of that conversation in your Otter. Yep, and you can search through the entire conversation. Absolutely, really good for meetings. But like for those type of stuff now, Zoom has the functionality of where it can basically create notes for the Zoom meetings automatically in the background. And I think Microsoft Teams has a similar tool as well. So those things are, they're already here. Like note taking is probably going to be a thing of the past, where AI is just going to generate notes, is going to take you things to focus on, and so on. Let's see.
Can I take a pause? I want to answer a question, Barry. Barry says, what tools do you use to listen to audio and write about it? So we actually, right now it's a 2-step process. AI currently, ChatGPT or Bard can't go to YouTube and actually listen to our stuff. So we use happyscribe.com to get the transcript of the video first, and then we pop it into ChatGPT-4 and work on prompts to dial it in. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It usually takes me 15, 20 minutes to edit it versus 4 hours to write the whole thing from the get-go. Or from just if I just do HappyScribe transcript, it'll take me still 2 hours or more to edit it. If I run a transcript of our audio through ChatGPT, it'll take 20 minutes to dial it in and put some finishing touches on it and ship it. Go ahead, Boris.
Yeah, so I think I talked about 4 different tools. There's a couple. So we looked at Hypar and what they do with generative design and generative AI. So that's one of the tools you guys should check out. And then there's a Cove. So Cove tool also helps. It uses AI to kind of quickly, create various designs and generate designs based on some of the parameters, or actually evaluate your designs for like light, heat, and other types of things.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah.
So
what I think what we'll do is I'll send these to Rebecca, and maybe she can distribute to the participants. I don't know if that's plausible or not.
We can send a follow-up email too, yeah.
So that people can play around with them. Now, I will tell you, so, I mean, we're kind of coming up on the time limit here. So in conclusion, I will tell you that basically I used ChatGPT, GPT-4, the one that you see on the screen, or the ones that we saw on the screen, to help me, not to create this whole kind of presentation and content, but help me create this presentation and content, right? Like it helped me with the initial summary, and then kind of dove into the details, where then I was able to add, and Alex was able to add our own experiences and our own thoughts to it. But the outline and everything else was created by ChatGPT.
Yeah, and would you call this impersonal? I wouldn't say that.
Hopefully not.
Well, yeah. Well, so I mean, this is a lot of personality here on this webinar, and specific things we did. But yeah, the AI helped us definitely put it all together. Saved Nancy a couple hours of work, and she could be, she could do other things that are more important. That AI can do really well. So let's take questions. This is last 10 minutes. Rebecca, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, Douglas said, can AI summarize all of these comments and forward to them to attendees? So I will rely on you two to maybe help maybe develop a follow-up email for attendees.
Yeah,
now,
well, I mean, I guess...
want to, may I please have a little bit of a disclaimer here? Boris and I are not responsible for hallucinations. But yes, we will do it. We'll summarize all the comments. You want us to take the audio? I mean, we'll play with this. We'll see what we can do, but maybe we'll take the whole audio and try to maybe make it into kind of sensible question and answer session and post it. Yeah, we'll see.
But this whole recording is going to be on the AIA's website. Yes, Rebecca?
Yes.
Right, but someone has to listen to 1 hour and a half of content.
Well, no, right.
Where if this is organized in the way that we can sort of get the same idea, get the script, through Happy Scribe, and then pop it in ChatGPT and say, hey, format it for us like question and answer. Maybe it'll be more usable. We'll see.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thomas says use transcript from Zoom. Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
So what I can do is go ahead and send all this information and we'll wrap it up really pretty for everyone and send it out in a follow-up email to the attendees. I do want to thank you both for being here. Thank you, Boris. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you have made it this far, we'll go ahead and submit your AIA learning units. And like I mentioned, everything will be on the website available shortly after film production is all finished, and we'll send you that follow-up email. And we hope to see you on a future webinar, possibly related to AI, but we'll see you in the future, and we'll have more information for you then. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
If
you need help with IT, get arcit.com. We're here. We're going to give you a hug. We're going to take care of you. Would love just to chat, or if you have a problem, we'll just answer questions. But yeah, cheers. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a lot of time to invest. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Rebecca, and everybody else. Bye.
Bye.